Jackery test on the refrigerator. This is Jackery 1500. It appears to be working. All right, I'll check on it every hour. It's been about 2 hours and it's still going strong. 2 hours and only 9%. And the fridge is still on. Jackery just pretty much never lets you down. So I'm just gonna leave that plugged in probably overnight. And heck, it'll probably still be going in the morning. All right, it is the next morning. It is 8:30 a.m. I just woke up. And it is still powering the fridge. Still has a little bit of juice left. Now on to the next experiment. But for the fridge, it worked. Okay, so we have already tested the unit with the highest peak wattage, which is the refrigerator. And as you saw, it powered it overnight. So what we're doing next is the highest non-peak wattage. And that is typically an air conditioner, which is, you know, the biggest peak wattage I can come up with in my house. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this guy going. And I charge it via the panels. It works just fine. Okay, so we've got 357, 350. So we're hovering around 340, 350 watts. So I will come back in an hour and we'll see how this did. But I got to tell you, Jackery has never let me down. I really, really like the Jackery. All right, so it has been about an hour and it's at 60%. Oh, looks like it's using about 650 watts, which is pretty normal for that old school, eco-friendly air conditioner. A lot of people in my last one said that, yeah, there's a space beneath it. I'm looking to replace this with a more energy efficient one. So the space underneath is not really a big deal. And this is just a shed. It's pretty much just like a glorified shed that's got my equipment in it. So it's not really a big deal. It's the washroom. It's got the washer and dryer in it. But yeah, so Jackery, again, has not let me down. It says that it still has about an hour of power. So if there is ever a grid down and I'm in the desert, I'm not going to die of heat exhaustion. Now, I have tested the pass-through, and the pass-through works with the solar panels as well as the pass-through through a regular plug. So this would probably add an additional, I don't know, half hour to 45 minutes onto the time if I were to be charging it at the same time as using it. So we only have one more test to go, which is the highest energy appliances in a household, and that is the vacuum cleaner. All right, test of the vacuum. One of the great things about living in a small house, takes 10 minutes to clean the whole house. One thing I did want to point out to everyone is the difference in the panels, the older panels versus the new ones. So this is the Explorer 1500 on the left, and that's the 1000 on the right. The 1000 works with the Solar Saga 100s, and the Solar Saga 100s have, where is it? So they have an MC4 connector with an Anderson plug. So the Anderson plug goes into here. But with the new one does not have the Anderson. The new one has the same type of plug that goes into a wall adapter, but it's attached to the panel itself. So it works like this. It's not an Anderson connection, but at the same time, the new panel will work on the old unit. Okay, but the old panel will not work on the new unit. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to show you all the panels here. So we've got 400 watts, and how it works is 2 panels go into one adapter, and then one adapter goes into the input. We've got the 2 adapters, 1 and 2, plugged into the input. And as you can see, it is charging. Right now it's bringing in 320 watts out of 400, which is amazing, to be honest with you, because most of these only have like a 50% efficiency rate, and these are getting like 80%. Geez, that's great. A lot of people ask me what I recommend for solar units. So for solar units, I recommend the Energy, anything from Energy if you are bugging in, and anything from Jackery if you are bugging out. The reason for that being is that the Jackery panels are portable, and they're not all weather, which means that they can't be left out in the rain. And you see how it's got the plastic on the sides? Well, I have a couple of plastic ones that are pretty sun weathered. The units still work, but it's going to weather the plastic, especially here in the desert, because it's just crazy. But these are easy to carry, easy to walk around. Same with the handles on the Jackery, makes it really easy, really portable. With the Energy has normal panels that I have affixed to the roof of my house. I believe that there's 5 of them up there. And, or I guess it's not the roof of my house, it's my laundry room roof. I tried putting it in the back of my house so it would be more incognito. But these are panels that are all weather, and then the cord just comes right down here. And then I've got my Energy right there. And my Energy, don't worry, no rain touches this, or the sun, it's all good. So as you can see, I use my Energy, and then I just have an extension cord going inside. And if the electricity goes out, I have an extension cord that is right next to my refrigerator, and then I just plug in the extension cord to the refrigerator here, and it powers the fridge and my TV, modem, DVD, blah, 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 blah. But one thing about living in the desert, this was never a concern in California because we had really moderate weather. It could be 105 degrees outside and my house never got above 83, and I never had an air conditioner. But here, you need air conditioning. It's survival. It gets up to 125 here. And even though it's the desert, this is pretty much sea level, and at night, it doesn't cool down. So I'm used to the desert where it gets to 125 in the day, and then at nighttime it gets down to 60. You can open your windows, cool down your house. Well, you can't do that here, so you need air conditioning. If a grid down were to happen right now, the only air conditioner I've got is in my laundry room, like window style unit. The rest is connected to on grid. So we'd be putting a mattress up in my laundry room and pulling out the washer and dryer and sleeping in there with that little air conditioner. But my goal is to get another air conditioner and put it, or at least have the ability to put it in that window, so that if the grid does go down, the Jackery would be able to easily power the air conditioner for at least a few hours, and then my refrigerator would likely become secondary, and then for the next few hours I would use that while the Jackery was charging, and then once the Jackery was charged I would use that, and it would just be a continuous cycle of switching out the power supplies for air conditioning. But I always recommend the Jackery for bugging out and the Energy for bugging in. Another example of something similar to the Jackery is the To-Go. They all have the same internal parts and the same solar panels, but I believe that the Jackery has a lower price and just has a longer history of quality and consistency. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. And since I have proven that everything on this Jackery works, we are going to go ahead and go over the manual. And we are back with the Jackery solar generator manual. And it comes in this lovely little orange pouch. So in here, we have a customer support center. And then we've got the user manual. Jackery, you spelled manual wrong, but I don't care. So this is a really, really good unit. Let me focus this a little better. Just bringing it a little bit closer in. And the reason that I show the user's manual at the end is because if I don't, tons of people go into the comment section. They're like, what about this? What about this? How about this? And here's all of your questions answered. All you have to do is pause the video and all of your questions will be answered. So this is the first Jackery I know of that takes 400 watts, which is pretty good. The one thing about the Jackery I would like to see improvement on is the charge cycles. So I believe that this one's at 500 and something like the energy is like 3,000. Now don't forget, after you run out of charge cycles, you can still do pass-through. So that means, let's say you're completely out of charge cycles and you assume that the unit is no longer able to be used. Well, that's not the case. What you can do is you can set up your solar so that the solar is coming in and then you can plug in your equipment while the sun is out, but there won't be any power once the sun goes down. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing any solar unit, is that even if the charge cycles have been gone through all of the charge cycles, you can still use the unit. You can just only use it through pass-through. So that's really important. I do like how the display, it lights up when you hit the display button, but it turns off. There are a lot of units out there where the display stays on. I think that wastes electricity, or it wastes the power that the solar generator has remaining. And also, some of us use these generators on a regular basis while we're asleep. For instance, I use the Jackery 500. It's located next to my bed and I charge my cell phone on it every night. And I like how the light turns off, because I'm one of those people who you know, anything will wake me up, including light. So I make sure to use, you know, generators that don't have that problem, something that does not have the light turn on while you're trying to sleep. Troubleshooting. I haven't had to troubleshoot the unit. It's worked perfectly as usual. Jackery has literally never let me down. Same thing with energy. Those are my two absolute favorites. A very close third would be the To-Go, T-O-G-O. The To-Go has the same internal parts as the Jackery, made by the same manufacturer. It works the same, it just has a different outside of the unit. It's yellow as opposed to orange. So here's just some more information. And I do think that I have maxed out my solar product reviews at this point. So I have so many solar units and I've given away solar units, I've sold some solar units, and I think that I'm done reviewing solar units. But since this was a Jackery, I simply could not pass it up. I just think that, you know, once you've reviewed several of them, you've pretty much reviewed them all, and they're all very similar as long as they do what they say. Not all of them have. I've had some problems with a couple of them, as you all know. But all in all, I think I'm done. I do want to do a review or two of some gas generators, because you know, people give gas generators a bad rap, but they certainly have their place. For instance, you know, people in California who are going through all the wildfires right now, a solar generator doesn't really work when it's so smoky outside that you can't see 10 feet in front of you. So people in those types of situations would definitely need to go with a gas generator when solar is not available. I would also like to try maybe getting into some wind units, wind generation, because here either the sun is shining or the wind is blowing and there's nothing in between. So I'd really like to see that, but I can understand how it might be hard to do reviews on wind generator equipment, because you know, a company will send you a product and they're like, in 2 weeks, can you have this out? And you don't have any wind for 2 weeks. So you're like, no, sorry, I can't. I don't have any wind. I can go outside and just on it and hope that it does something, but I can see how that might be an issue. But I would like to look into things like wind. I think that would be pretty cool. But as for right now, the primary things are pretty much gas and solar. And I think that's great. I think that it's a good step in the right direction. It's good for the environment. And you don't have to go through your city or county because it is considered completely off-grid. If you want to get an electric exchanger and plug in and have a battery backup system and all that, you have to get permits. People know that you have it. People in the city and council that, you know, with the permits on file, they'll know that you have it, but these are completely off-grid. I had the electrical company come out and do something, and he wanted to cite me for having those solar panels on my roof that you saw. And he goes, you can't have those. And I was like, yes, I can. And he goes, no, you can't do it without a permit. And I was like, yes, I can. It's off grid. This thing, I can, look, I'll unplug it and pick it up and take it with me. I can do whatever I want. And he was not able to give me a fine or report me or anything like that. So that's a plus when it comes to these solar units. Oh, a drone. Maybe I should get a drone. That might help out my videos. Could make them all theatrical and stuff. Yeah, I have this one, and this one, and I have been happy with all of them. The only problem I've ever had is this one, and like I said, I think it's the adapter. It just won't charge via the wall, but it'll still charge via solar, so that's pretty basically what I use it for anyway. But I would like to be able to do it via the wall just in case. I think it's just an adapter issue, so not really a big deal. So this one came with the Solar Saga 100s, not the 60s. And I did show you that they have different connections as opposed to the older ones. So if you all need to pause this manual on any of the pages, please feel free to do so. And the Jackery is a thumbs up for me. Definitely a thumbs up. I always love the Jackery. They have never let me down. I hope that this video has been helpful, and don't forget, if you believe that you can or you believe that you can't, you are right. Prepper Princess out.